What's up, you guys? It's Graham here. So in a completely unexpected turn of events, and I never thought I would say this, but now it seems as though the stock market is as volatile as Bitcoin, and the last few days have been insane. It's almost as though someone is sitting at the New York Stock Exchange just waiting there for the opening bell to flip a coin to decide whether or not the market is going to be up 3.5% that day or down 3.5% that day. Because recently, that just seems like the only logical explanation to describe what's been going on with the markets. Here's just a quick recap for anyone who missed out or didn't have an internet connection this last week. It all begins on Wednesday, February 26th, where the Dow logged its biggest reversal in 2 years. And that left all of us sitting there wondering, why did the markets just go up out of nowhere? Well, don't spend too long thinking about that, because the next day, February 27th, on Thursday, the Dow dropped almost 1,200 points in a day, marking it the single worst point decline in its entire history. But if you thought that was the end of the world as we know it, that stocks were doomed, and we were destined for a dark dystopian future where Bitcoin and BitConnect are the only remaining currencies in existence, well, think again. On Monday, March 2nd, the Dow surged nearly 1,300 points, making it a new record in the history of the stock market. That's basically the stock market's version of saying, it's a prank, bruh, don't be mad, it was just a prank. Oh wait, no, was it actually a prank? Because the very next day, on Tuesday, March 3rd, the Fed reduced interest rates out of nowhere, causing the market to go back into a state of fear, and then subsequently dropping another 785 points. Although just when you think you have it all figured out, you realized you didn't, because the stock market is behaving like a 3-year-old toddler who didn't have their afternoon nap. And on Wednesday, March 4th, the stock market soared back another 1,100 points because this is the stock market, and we realize that it makes absolutely no logical sense whatsoever. And this still isn't over, because on Thursday, March 5th, after the market soaring 1,100 points, it decided today, nah, I don't feel like being up today. I'm not feeling that good. I'm gonna go down today. And then it dropped almost another 1,000 points. And then of course, here we are today on Friday, March 6th, and the stock market is not feeling very well today, and it is down another 516 points at the time I'm making this video. So let's just try to sum up what's happened over the last week, because we're all trying to make some sense of this. In 1 week, we saw the biggest reversal in 2 years, then the single worst point decline in the stock market history, then the single biggest point increase in the stock market history, then it drops again 785 points, but it goes back up 1,100 points the next day, only to go back down 1,000 points a day later, and then down another 600 points after that. So in my completely amateur attempt to make some sense of this, as someone who definitely should not be considered an expert, who really only has a basic level understanding of economics, I figured I would try to do my best to explain what's going on, why the stock market has been so volatile, what the Fed interest rate cut means for all of us normies out there, and what you can do to best protect yourself in the event the stock market continues acting as unpredictable as Onision. So first, let's begin here with the Federal Reserve suddenly lowering interest rates by half a point out of nowhere. And for anyone who's not aware of how this works, well, here's how it works in very simplistic terms. The Federal Reserve is in charge of controlling and monitoring what's known as the federal funds rate, which is basically the interest rates that banks pay anytime they borrow money from the Federal Reserve. So in a sense, the Federal Reserve is almost like a bank for the banks. Now this is really important because the federal funds rate impacts what's known as the Treasury yield, which is the amount of interest the government will pay you for lending them money. And those returns are largely driven by supply and demand. So without getting too technical, here's where this all pieces together. Whether we like it or not, the Federal Reserve's job is to maintain economic and financial stability. They want to make sure we don't end up like Zimbabwe, who sees 300% hyperinflation of their currency every year. And they want to make sure we can continue growing at a steady and predictable pace year after year. Now, some of that responsibility, however, for a lack of a better word here, is manipulated by raising or lowering the interest rates. See, if they raise interest rates, then money becomes more expensive to borrow, which means businesses can't take on as much debt, and that means leveraged assets become more expensive to purchase, and because of all of that, the economy might start to slow down. Now, this could actually be a good thing if we start to see too much inflation, which is when the prices of everything else go up way more than what our money is currently worth. Imagine it like a loaf of bread costing you $2 today, but then next year that same loaf of bread costs you $4. Well, that is inflation. Or that could also just be you shopping at Whole Foods instead of going to Trader Joe's, because Whole Foods is way too expensive. So anyway, if they raise interest rates, then debt becomes more expensive, and in theory, the prices of things should start coming down. On the other hand though, when the Federal Reserve is concerned about the future of our economy and wants to try to maintain stability, they will lower interest rates to reduce the cost of debt, encourage more people to go and borrow more money, and really try to encourage more investment in the markets. After all, when our savings accounts pay next to nothing, when the 10-year Treasury yield is under 1%, and when there's not a lot of safe places to park your money, then you're more likely likely to invest, and that helps keep our economy afloat. Like in 2008, when the United States entered a recession, the Federal Reserve dropped its rates down to 0 to encourage more people to spend. And now, here we are again. When the Fed posted a sudden rate cut of half a point out of nowhere, it signaled to the markets that maybe our economy is more fragile than we thought. And if the Fed felt the need to reduce rates so quickly out of nowhere, then maybe they know something we don't. Although the Fed reducing interest rates has some pretty widespread implications, some good, some bad, and this is what they are. At first, the most noticeable difference that we're going to be seeing is within our savings account. As I'm sure by now you're probably aware, I am what's known as what's called a high interest rate savings account connoisseur of sorts. I spend way too much of my time out there trying to find out which banks pay the highest interest. And for a while, I was sitting pretty good, earning 1.78% in Wealthfront, 1.6% in Ally Bank, 1.8% in PNC Bank, and 1.8% on Robinhood, and that was until the Fed dropped their interest rates. When the Fed reduces interest rates like this, it has a direct implication on how much you get paid within a savings account. Basically, overnight, online banks slashed their payouts in savings accounts by as much as 0.5%. And now Robinhood is at 1.3%, Wealthfront is at 1.27%, and Ally Bank is too slow to react to things like this. So now, in other words, savings accounts have become less profitable. I'm sure everyone wants me to make right now an updated best savings accounts of 2020 video, so I will make that happen if you smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. The second, the other big change we're going to see coming, and this is actually really good news for real estate, is that mortgage interest rates are hitting all-time lows. Really, from an interest rate standpoint, there has never been a better time to go and buy real estate. That's because the cheaper it is to borrow money, the less a property will cost you, which means theoretically the more of it you could buy. This should in turn cause real estate prices to go up in value depending on the market. And really, anyone who has a loan right now would be highly incentivized to go and refinance that loan to lower their interest rate. Like, I'm looking to refinance right now a jumbo 30-year fixed rate mortgage at under 2.7%, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, at that level, it's pretty much like they're giving me free money for me to go and buy real estate with. So if you're in a position right now where you have cash, you have a good credit score, and you have real estate, lower interest rates are pretty much like music to your ears. The third, overall, we're not really sure how this is going to affect our economy long term. I mean, honestly, if I had the answer to this and I knew what was going to happen, I would not be sitting in my garage on a Friday morning making YouTube videos. Because when it comes to this, my thought is, on the one hand, lower interest rates should theoretically help us out, they should boost the price of stocks, and we should be able to borrow more money. But on the other hand, lower interest rates penalize savers like me because savings accounts that pay pretty much nothing in interest almost force our hands to invest elsewhere to get a higher return. We also risk running into a recession with interest rates at all-time lows and nowhere else for them to go but even further down. That's what's known as negative interest rates, where banks will basically pay you to take out a loan, or you have to pay them to keep your money in their bank account. And even right now, depending on your tax bracket, we're somewhat already there. The money I borrow in real estate is pretty much free at this point when you account for tax write-offs and inflation. And with lowered mortgage rates, I'd almost be getting paid now to go and take out loans. So a lot of this could be seen as uncharted territory for the United States. And we're not sure what direction this will go or what the outcome will be in the short term. That's why any of these predictions of what's going to happen is really just a wild guess. As for the stock market, this unprecedented volatility is really entertaining to watch, I have to say. And in my completely unprofessional opinion, I think stock market volatility is something we're just going to have to get used to and could become the new normal of stocks for a little while. A lot of this right now is probably going to be influenced by the upcoming election and who is the current frontrunner and whether or not they're going to be good for business. And a lot of that type of uncertainty is going to be completely unpredictable. We're also going to be seeing a lot of volatility from the illness thou shalt not be spoken of, otherwise they get demonetized on YouTube for even mentioning it. So we will not call it anything other than it's an illness. So anyway, any news about that topic whatsoever is going to turn into a wild free-for-all frenzy. But even with all of that going on right now, these market swings are not completely out of the ordinary. Like, just look at the data. This chart shows the number of swings of 3% or greater in a given year. 2008 saw 38 of these swings, 2009 saw 15, and so far in 2020 we've seen 5. However, not all of this is doom and gloom, because if we look back over the last 25 years, we'll see that sudden volatility like this happens even though it doesn't make a lot of sense and it's kind of stupid. For example, on average, 27% of all trading days will see a 1% move or more in prices. Now sure, some of these exorbitant price swings over the last week are certainly uncommon, and according to an article on Seeking Alpha, less than 2% of all rolling 10-day trading periods have had higher volatility than what we've currently seen. But overall, like I said, it's normal for the markets to act completely drunk sometimes and for people to be uncertain about our economic future. And for anyone who's worried, just check out this link down below in the description. It goes over every major economic event and the stock market returns to follow. These include some very serious and historic moments, and despite what you would think might cause an inevitable downfall, we actually came out ahead completely okay. So I highly recommend recommend you check this out, and that will be down below in the description, which is below where the like button is, which should hopefully right now be blue. Hint, hint. Anyway, here are my thoughts on all of this. In the event we do see a recession, your number one priority over everything else is to stay employed and continue making money. If you continue having money come in from a stable source and you can keep your skills intact, then you'll be that much more likely to come out ahead profitable. Also, use this time to hone your skills, get better at what you do, put in the extra effort so that way if any company downsizes, you'll be less likely to be let go. Second, I would highly recommend cutting back on spending right now. And sure, this is something I would say even if the market was going up 100% a year. But I really believe if you can cut back on your expenses, you're going to be in that much better of a position to take advantage of lower prices and continue buying into the markets. The third, I know I just recently said this, but guess what? I'm going to say it again because it's important. Make sure you keep an emergency fund worth 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses sitting on the sidelines at all times, and don't you dare touch it. And that'll allow you to invest everything else you have coming in without questioning it. And fourth, if you can't handle this type of volatility without freaking out, then either don't check the markets every day or rebalance your portfolio so you don't have such intense price swings. Although, to be honest, I would just keep everything exactly how it is and not change a single thing and keep buying into the markets as normal. Now, fifth, if we do enter a bear market, just understand that this is not something that's never happened before, and the markets don't ever just go up indefinitely without going down. So because of that, you'll need to do your best to hold out. Historically, the average length of a bull market is 50 months, and the average length of a bear market is only 14 months with an average loss of 27%. But if you continue buying throughout all the dips, you'll come out the other side very, very, very well. And really, through all of this, here's what I'm thinking. I'm seeing these low interest rates right now as an opportunity to refinance my mortgages. And doing that is going to save me hundreds of dollars a month on payments out of nowhere. Plus, I'm using this as a time to continue buying into the markets, just knowing that even if things get worse in the short term, long term, I'm still pretty bullish. Even Warren Buffett just recently used some of his cash to buy into Delta Airlines. So overall, stay strong through all of this, don't panic, do your best to cut back on expenses, do your best to continue being employed, and then just carry on as usual. No one knows how this is going to turn out in the short term or how much more volatility we're going to be seeing. But two things are for sure. Long term, we're going to be okay, and within the next few seconds, I'm going to ask you to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. So with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, if you guys enjoy videos like this, make sure to destroy the subscribe button and notification bell. Also, feel free to add me on Instagram. I post it pretty much daily, so if you want to be a part of it there, feel free to add me there. As on my second channel, The Graham Stephan Show, I post there every single day. I'm not posting here. So if you want to see a new video from me every single day, make sure to add yourself to that. And lastly, speaking of stocks, if you guys want 2 free stocks, use the link down below in the description, and Webull is going to be giving you 2 free stocks when you deposit $100 on the platform. And one of those stocks is going to be valued up to $1,400. So if you want a chance to get 2 free stocks with one of them potentially worth up to a lot of money, use that link down below in the description. Let me know which 2 free stocks you get. Thank you so much for watching, and till next time.